Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Is anybody listening?
Holy smokes. South County St. Louis dude listening. What's a South County dude?
You know, South County, St. Louis.
What school might have that been?
I don't know the school system that well.
But was that like, would you ever hook up with a South County bro back in the day, or was that like out of your orbit? You were more like Ladue guys, weren't you?
God, you're really, I feel like putting me on hardcore blast right now.
Oh, am I?
Yeah, I probably would have hooked up with the South County guy, but it definitely was more like blue collar. What, Andy, you're, what am I supposed to do here?
I don't know. I thought there might be a setup here, and I guess there was.
You, by the way, lived in the exact same world that I lived in.
I lived in the mean and tough streets of University City. City, represent.
You were probably like a mile and a half away from me.
So a lot can happen in that mile and a half. Anyways, shout out South County St. Louis dude listening. Glad you guys are back. Elizabeth, I was at the same exact 311 show back in the 90s.
Oh my God.
I don't think any of us knew who No Doubt was at the time.
Whoa.
I'll tell you something else.
That is crazy. What are the odds?
Well, listen, I missed out. There was a concert that like everybody in my class went to go see Bush with No Doubt. And I missed out on it, and I felt like very left out.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was also a huge No Doubt fan at the time, and I didn't go for some reason. I can't remember why I didn't go, but it was like everybody who was anybody went.
Do you remember Melville, Missouri?
Yeah, I do remember Melville. Why do I remember Melville?
Well, that's in South County. So I actually don't think it's blue collar. I think it's like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't want to speak to the demographics of South County.
Is it?
There was South County Mall.
It's not Southside City.
Southside. I don't know what that is.
There's a band called MU330 that has a song called Who's Your Love? They were a St. Louis ska band.
Okay.
It's like, who's your love? Who's your love? Southside City, who's your love?
Okay.
It's such a good song. But I think Southside City is like that cool area of St. Louis with like the Italian restaurants. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, you're thinking of the Hill.
I am thinking of the Hill. Is that Southside City?
I don't think so.
I apologize to
Our
this
friend who went to the 311 concert is like, these fucking idiots. Sorry, I will say,
I just wanted to know if you'd ever hooked up with the South County guy. I didn't even know what that meant.
I barely hooked up with anyone. I mean, it's not like I was some,
But what neighborhoods
like
were they
pulling
from?
wool all over the place.
I don't think you pull wool.
What do you mean?
I don't think ladies say that they were pulling wool, unless you're into ladies.
Oh, right.
I think. Although a man has a pubis,
hair?
They do have pubic hair.
Don't say pubis. Oh, no.
It's just funny that you said you weren't pulling that much wool.
Okay.
But I'm open to...
I'm a lady.
Take it back.
What?
Like, own it. Because, like...
Oh, okay.
Because, like, if I said pull wool, you would be like, ugh, right? But you can say it because you're, like, reclaiming it for the ladies.
I hate it when a man tells a woman to reclaim anything.
Pulling wool.
Where were we?
Oh, can I read the review? Oh, no, I read that review. Can I read some more people listening?
Please.
Okay. I'm listening from Albuquerque. Ever hooked up with an Albuquerque guy?
No.
New Mexico?
No, but my dad was born in New Mexico.
Oh, cool. Love your podcast, friends. Dare I call you friends? You bet your green chili cheeseburger. I consider you friends. From sexy cats to high school reunion updates to praying to St. Monica together to laughing along with you both. Thank you for being a friend.
Oh my gosh. What an amazing, concise. I wonder if this person's a writer.
It taps so much stuff of the pod lately.
I know. I love it.
That was from Abby Robles.
Oh.
Let's see. Let's do one more, two more. What do you think? How about...
How many do we have?
There's a lot. This is really great.
This is great.
This one's from For the Horde. What's that mean? I like that. Look forward to the show every week. Another listener who heard about you from Monica. I'm so glad I did. I laugh out loud on my morning walk listening to you too. Thank you for brightening my day. This one's from Nada. Running buddies. My sister turned me on to your podcast. Shout out, Natalie.
Oh.
And I was hooked from first listening. I'm training for a marathon, and I save your pod for long run days. It makes the runs fly by, or more realistically, plod quickly. That's funny. Thanks for being my running buddies.
This is the first real life instance I've heard of word of mouth outside of St. Monica, obviously, but she obviously has a huge platform. She's spreading the love, but from person to person. Natalie, thank you, Natalie, for introducing your running sister.
Oh yeah, you had asked people to. You want to get that word of mouth going,
and I also think it's a tough sell. So I'm also like,
but maybe not, because this Nada loves it. Her name's Nada, and her sister's name's Natalie.
Huh?
That was like yesterday. Our kids were telling us about someone else, and their names are super similar. Not necessarily that your name's Nada. Anyways,
Birdie and Goldie.
No. That's cool, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Let's do one more listener.
Well, and then I have some stuff, too.
Great.
Since we're in the reviews thing,
yeah.
Last week or 2 weeks ago, you read a review from Chitnit, and it got cut off, and it said,
"Oh yeah,
I wish you would bring," and we were like, "Bring what?" She messaged me and said it was going to say bring back lame or totally rapid fire.
Oh, that's fun.
That is fun. Just for one time, for old time's sake.
We'll do that soon.
We maybe should do that on Patreon. You know, well, this is dropping on Wednesday. We will have already done our live stream. Hopefully it went swimmingly. But that would be a really fun thing to do too.
Maybe down the road? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. If anyone wants to join Patreon.
But if Chitnit's not on Patreon, I don't think we got to put it behind. We got to do it so Chitnit can hear.
Yeah. It's patreon.com/totally lame.
Chitnit,
Awesome.
this is in your hands. If you're on Patreon, let us know. If not, let us know. All listeners, you're at the mercy of Chitnit right now.
What a compelling advertisement this is. Okay, carry on, Andrew.
But speaking of the live stream, it was bananas, and that was the most fun I've had with you ever, I think. So thanks for everybody that was there with us.
We might have to edit this out.
We haven't filmed the live stream yet, listeners, but we're going to do it tomorrow night, which is in the past for you.
Okay.
Oh, you're so annoyed. I'm so sorry.
I am. What are we doing?
Okay. I'll read one more review. Let's see. Very much listening. This is from KC Face. Hey, I love that we are all over the map here. You know what I mean? Albuquerque, South County, Kansas City.
Oh, I didn't get that, Casey. Okay.
And maybe I'm wrong there. Thrilled that you two are back. I've been here since the Totally Lame days. Totally Mommy gave me life going through postpartum. Totally Married was a beautiful model of healthy dialogue / conflict for my young married self. And beverages, season 1 gave my husband his favorite Sazerac recipe. Love it all. Love you both. You feel like the best of friends. Carry on.
Oh, what's Sazerac?
It's a beverage. It's a boozy beverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
How would you describe it? I truly have no idea.
I don't know. Listen, I don't remember anything. And that's why I have amazing co-host Jojo there, that Jojo would tell you in a heartbeat what a Sazerac is. I don't remember.
Okay, I'm going to sneeze.
Nice.
It's whiskey, sugar, bitters, and absinthe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for the amazing
Seriously,
reviews
and keep them coming.
messages.
And I feel like I stepped on your moment when we were talking about word of mouth. You did put it out to the universe on this show, and you just got feedback that word of mouth happened. Let's keep putting it out. We want word of mouth spread of this thing. We're looking for that Malcolm Gladwell tipping point shit up in here. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
Or your family, foes, coworkers. Anybody, maybe your favorite checkout person at the grocery store. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay. Do you want to? Should we do our what's becoming a very common tradition on the show and do a health update?
Oh yeah. I feel like if anyone's watching these video clips, we are
On Instagram at Nobody's Listening, right?
Yeah. And we're putting bigger clips up on Patreon, right?
Yes.
We're toying with the idea of putting full clips, but I bounced the full clip the other day, and it was last week's episode where I have a huge Band-Aid on my nose. Today, you will notice I still have a Band-Aid, but it's a little sleeker, a little bit more modern, a little bit more palatable. I'm not sure how it's going to look on camera yet. We haven't looked at the footage. But anyways, I got a little, I had to go to the dermatologist because I had a little thing on my face. They took it off, and it turns out it was a little, cancerous carcinoma or whatever.
Yeah.
So now I got to keep it covered up till I go in for the surgery in like a week. And then who knows how long I'm going to have it covered up. So I'm going to have a Band-Aid on my face for a while.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest bummer of this story, to be honest.
Luckily, it seems like it's a very treatable carcinoma.
Yes.
That I will say this. This is not a... I had a feeling. Like when this thing started, remember, I was hounding you.
Yeah, that instinct. That's good.
I had the instinct.
Well, can I tell you about... I'm really curious. I think I've already told you about this.
Oh, wait, real fast before you carry on. You went into the dermatologist and she was like, oh, no, it's this other thing.
Yeah,
because
totally.
this is very rare, what you have.
Yeah.
And rare doesn't equate to dangerous.
Right.
Like it's very treatable. But then you came back home and then it got even weirder.
Yeah.
And it was like, you need to, it started bleeding. And then you went back in. And then she was like, well, let's remove it, which I'm annoyed. I wish, I'm like, if you're a dermatologist, like err on the side of removing it. I mean, it wasn't.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the crazy thing. If I can tell like the fast version of the story, my whole life I've had a lot of moles on my back. So since high school, I've been getting like skin checks, and over my life, I've probably had like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 removed on my body. So I'm like very used to that just because I have weird looking moles. And so, you know, you're always supposed to watch if they're changing and all that stuff. So I'm very used to that. When I went into the dermatologist probably 6 months ago, excuse me, I had a couple on my back that they tested. They have some new cool like sticker thing where they can see if the cells show anything. And one of them was like, this has potential of turning
cancerous.
So we should take that one out. So they took that out. And but the thing on my nose, I was like, hey, this is new. I've never had this before. And it looked like a mole to me, sort of, right? Like sort of looked like a mole, or I don't even know how you would describe it.
Well, it's called a Bowen's carcinoma. And if you look it up, it's like it looks like almost like a waxy, kind of scaly little patch. To me, it didn't really look like a mole. That's why out the gate, I was like, what is this thing? And then it kept growing slowly.
Yeah.
But I was very like, what the fuck? And that's why I'm also annoyed that this dermatologist, I mean, luckily everything's going to be fine, but had it been something else, it's like, why not just remove this, you know?
Well, and they were very much, and listen, I'm putting the context of like, they did hack stuff out of my back that time, but she was really like, oh, it's this thing, which I can't remember the name, and was like, nothing to worry about, totally benign, but keep an eye on it. If it does change, let me know. So she did say that. So anyways, then, months later, it did start looking a little different. And then at one point in time, you were like, you're bleeding on your face. And I was like, did I scratch it? I don't think so. Anyway, so that made me make another
No,
appointment.
I mean, it wasn't just on your face. It was like that thing is bleeding.
Yeah. Sorry, that thing was bleeding. So I went in, and the doctor, it was a different doctor, because I wanted to get in super early, and my normal doctor wasn't available. And
You didn't tell me that.
I didn't tell you that.
No.
So she was like, it's most likely the thing that the first doctor had said. And she said that without even, I think, looking at the file, actually. And she was like, but sometimes it can look identical to this other thing. And she said, you have a couple options, like freeze it and then have to do something in 5 weeks or something. Or she's like, or we can cut it off right now and test it. And I was like, what would you do? And she's like, I would definitely cut it off. And I was like, I just want to make sure, like, it's on my face that it'll look like that we're not going to mess up my nose.
Your amazing face.
And anyways, she reassured me and convinced me we should do it now. Before she had cut into my nose, she was like, we'll call you in about 10 days and we'll give you the thing and da-da-da. And just basically like, we're going to get you in and out of here. No worries. The second she cut into my nose, she says, and what we'll do is we'll make an appointment for 2 weeks from now to come in to talk about the results and the options. And I was like, I knew right then.
She knew. You knew that she knew. As soon as she cut into it, she was like, here we go.
Yeah. And so, but I didn't bring that up right then. And I'm like, is that the right bedside manner?
Yes.
It is. Okay. So long story short, a week goes by and she called me and was like, yeah, it's cancerous or whatever. And you need to do the next phase, which sounds like no big deal. But I made the mistake of Googling that procedure nose, and I should have never done that. I will say that.
I'm not going to, and I'm really proud of myself for not doing that because
you just don't want to do the image search.
Like what I will say is this is, I know people have weird moly growths all the time and it's removed, and this is not like it's a melanoma or something that's like really worrisome. But I don't know, even just hearing carcinoma, it's just not great.
It's jarring no matter what. And she was like, we should do this as soon as possible. There's like an urgency to it.
Well, sure.
And here's the other thing I was thinking about. The last thing on my back that I got taken out a few months ago was bigger. Mm-hmm. And I remember that that day after that, and I had a similar feeling when they cut this out. It does just kind of ruin your day, and I get very sad. It doesn't hurt to get they numb everything.
Yeah.
But there is this weird, I don't know if it's like in your body that's getting sad or if it's all emotional, but I really do have this reaction where with this thing, the day of that, I'm having nothing on that day.
Of course.
I'm just going to chill and like do whatever I want that day.
This, first of all, is on your face. I mean, I do think there's something to body trauma, like something getting cut into or whatever that we, in our just go society, and this is part of it. And like, it is traumatizing. Yeah. Like when you have stuff done to your body, it's traumatizing. And then, in this case, it's on your face.
I know.
You have such a great nose also. That's the thing. You have a wonderful face.
That is the first time you've complimented my nose, and that means a lot.
Well, does it?
Mm-hmm.
It can't be the first time.
Usually it's more in jest about like the size of it and stuff.
What the fuck are you talking about?
You've definitely said I have a nose that errs on the bigger side.
That is not true.
That is not true?
Yes.
I'm going crazy here right now. You're telling me you've never made a joke about how my nose is bigger. I don't know.
First of all, I don't think that of you as having a big nose.
Yeah, I don't either, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second of all, what the fuck are you talking about? And in what context do you think that I have said that you have a big nose?
I just feel like you've joked about my big nose. Am I totally wrong?
Yeah. Like, first of all, you just said you don't think you have a big nose. So why are you saying I thought you've joked about my big nose?
because I feel like I remember that. And as a person that doesn't think they have a big nose, that you've like commented on it. Would you call it my nose medium, medium large, large, or extra large?
Well,
or small?
I mean, it fits your face perfect. I'm very honestly confused right now.
Okay.
Do you have like a whole file, like case of history of mean things I've said to you that I'm like,
No. Oh, no. And this doesn't bother me at all.
I mean, I do think your nose comes down because you're able to touch your tongue to your nose, which is not, which is rare. But you have a big tongue.
Do you think, I was going to say, you don't think the space from my lip to my nose is shorter than normal?
I don't know. Your face is perfect. What's wild is I really love your nose, and I have a messed up nose.
I love your nose too.
But my nose has been broken. It didn't work for a while, you know. I had to have surgery on it last year. I'm like, who am I to say anything about your nose?
Yeah.
I had tubes in my nose. Like, my nose is a whole fucking mess. Why do you think I was mean about your nose?
Not mean, just like you'd made a joke about the size of it.
Okay. Can please strike? I don't know what that is. Strike that from the record.
Okay. I'm not carrying it. I wasn't carrying it around as like a baggage thing. I'm not insecure about my nose.
Okay.
Yet. We're going to see what happens in a week or so.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is I love your nose, and also like one of our kids, I think, has either airs more on the side of your nose or kind of a combo bladder. Why are you laughing?
What does that mean that they air on the side of like my nose?
Because you because they have, I mean, their noses are different the way they look.
Got it.
You have kind of like I feel like I can't win. I can't talk about it. Let's move on. Anyway.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. You're not going to Google it. That's kind of where we were.
I'm not going to Google it. No matter what happens, it's going to be fine. Even if you have like kind of a divot in it, I have.
But like where it is, I'm like, how deep can they even cut? That's what you want to know. My concern is just that they're going to be like, yeah, there's a hole in your nose, and you're going to have to get that fixed. But I'm just like, well, what do I do until I get it fixed? Do I just have a hole in my nose? That's what I'm worried about.
Well, that's what I'm almost like. Can you call ahead of your procedure and ask about should there be a plastic surgeon there? Because that's what it would be.
Yeah. You know what? I'm not worried about it. Like this is like it's like not a big deal at all.
Okay.
Knock wood.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's why
health update.
That's the health. That's why I'm going to have a Band-Aid on my face for these clips for a while. Ugh. I hope it's not a really big thing. How long did you have stuff when you had your nose surgery done? Remember?
What do you mean?
I'm trying to think how long were the tubes in for?
For a full week.
Wow.
That's a very different scenario where this is about to get gross if anyone's squeamish. They literally pulled out all of the bones inside my nose, like the cartilage and everything, rebuilt it, put it back in. Like that's not just skimming some cells off the top, Yeah. But it's on the inside, so you don't really see the mess.
Right.
Anyway. Cool. Cool.
It wasn't cancer, though. Like, if we're going... you were just minimizing my thing? So if we're going to go toe-to-toe... Procedure-wise, yours is much more invasive and a bigger deal. But it wasn't cancer. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Yes. But this is an interesting question.
I'm ready for it.
I don't feel that you are in a position to say, I have cancer. even though I guess that's technically the case, just the connotations of that don't match up to.
Like, I get, like, it it would be very weird to, like, after the surgery for me to be telling people I'm in remission.
Very offensive. Like, yes.
I want to just say for all of our listeners,
We're
we
very
know
much
how
kidding.
absurd all
Yes.
of this is, and we're not trying to minimize anybody with cancer
Yeah.
at all.
Did you read that whole article about the writer on Grey's Anatomy?
No.
There was this is crazy. There was this writer on Grey's Anatomy. I feel like it was either a Vice or Vanity Fair article, probably Vice. All about, like, it went in depth to everything, but she was on the series for many, many years. She, like, the article interviewed people that she worked with who were like, she also was kind of aggressive in the room and would, like, take over anytime cancer came up or something like that, because she was battling cancer as they were going through this, had like a rare cancer.
Okay.
Took lots of time off for recovery from surgeries and stuff like that. Turns out she never had cancer.
It was all fake?
Yeah.
Oof.
Oofta.
That's just some crazy shit.
When I read about stuff like that, or, you know, watching and hearing the podcast about, like, Anna Delvey,
Yeah.
like, people who fake their circumstances in an opportunistic way,
Yeah.
I'm like so blown away. I mean, obviously it's disturbing and fucked up and whatever, but I'm also like, I will go have a great night out with friends, at, like, my close friends, like at a party or something. People I love and I know they love me. And I'll go home and have fun, and then I'll wake up in the middle of the night and go, oh my God, when I said that way, did she take it like this? Was that, oh no, like,
Yeah.
can't sleep.
Yeah.
Not even that I'm, like, fabricating something. It's like, did I say something that was taken the wrong way that could have offended someone? Keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I look at these people and I'm like, how does the guilt and...
There just must... I don't... Actually, that might not be true. Maybe there is guilt for some of them. Maybe they are in this constant spiral in their head of uncomfort and, like, why did I do that? But I got to keep it going. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but to show up at work every single day and be like...
And was it under... I'm assuming part of this big story is that it was them having the authority to weigh in on these cancer stories probably in the show more, right? Like, well, from my experience, right?
Oh, it was Vanity Fair. Her name's Elizabeth Finch, with Elizabeth with an S. I highly recommend everyone just Google Vanity Fair Elizabeth Finch, because, I mean, not only that, but, like, you know, I mean, when you're creating a show and staffing it with writers, like, if there's a storyline with a veteran, you ideally find someone
Right.
who is a veteran.
Yeah.
You want authentic stories
Yeah.
from different people's. So, like, I would love to know from this woman, like, did she know that this is something they were looking for? Like,
Right.
you know, it's so interesting
That's crazy.
and messed up.
Can I tell you something? I wanted to circle back last week. We were talking about on the show, like, we had got new iPhones, and we were talking about how I was saying, like, we were talking about me making decisions and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I was saying, like, oh, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos about iPhone cases before,
Yes.
right? But so I was looking for a different video. So I'd hit my YouTube history, and I came through that thread. And I just want to tell you, I'm going to count how many videos I had watched about iPhone cases, okay? 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18,
Okay.
19, 20, I don't know if I watched all 20 videos, but I swear to God, there's 20 videos in my thing. Then we were up at the cabin last weekend. You had ordered a case, and I was like, hey, is it a mag-safe case? And you're like, oh, I don't think so. And you're like, oh, maybe I'll cancel it because it's not going to come for a while. So I watched you go on the journey to buy a new case, right? Mm-hmm. I saw you pick up your phone and you went to the Apple website, search cases, I'm assuming, put in your model of iPhone. And I swear to God, in 20 seconds, I saw you go, ooh, that's awesome. I'm getting that one. And I go, well, what one? And you go, the green leather one. And that was the one I originally wanted. If you look in my YouTube history, it's the second video I click on is a review of the green leather unboxing. Mm-hmm. And it was sort of heartbreaking for me because I'm like, this is how people can make decisions. It took you 20 seconds. You saw the thing, it spoke to you, and you ordered it. And it turns out it was the one that I wanted that I should have ordered, but I wasted 3 hours of my life looking at videos and whatnot, where on the flip side, I could have just been like you and been like, that one looks cool. Done. It was so jarring and eye-opening to me.
Interesting.
Like, what is that about?
Well, I think I feel like your ADHD diagnosis sheds quite a bit of light. And something happened
that's part of that.
I feel pretty certain. Yeah. And I will say, not every decision is that easy. I mean, we've been talking about, like, I have some decision fatigue from the cabin.
Yeah, totally.
Also, I mean,
we do need to update on Plaid, too.
We do. We will. Yeah. We will. There are a lot of decisions to be made. And also in that arena, there's like decisions that our contractors like, I need to know this right now. And I'm like, I didn't even know this was.
Yeah.
And I think that this is kind of a sensitive area because I think, like so many families, one thing that we have struggled with, and I think is a source of, I think we do a good job navigating it because you and I are good communicators, but what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's a word for this, like division of labor within a family and like who's doing what and how much is getting done and who has more time to this and who blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's just very hard for some reason. And there's something about right now getting the cabin together feels like a lot of work that doesn't necessarily get like attributed that way. Like it's just this fun hobby or something where I'm like, this is a lot of time and energy.
Right.
And there's also like, I went to Utah a few weekends ago and you had the kids riding solo, which you've had a lot of riding solo with the kids over the last couple of years, especially. Yeah. But also I'm like, I'm going to have to go up to the cabin to figure this out because it's like, it's like a job to me right now. Yeah. But that's why our conversation last week about the Plaid, which was funny and I think interesting, and it kind of gets to the heart of like how we operate, but also was meaningful because as I'm making all of these decisions and kind of having decision fatigue from it and everything, like hearing you talk about that, I'm like, so you understand what it must be like to have to make like all these choices that feel very important.
Oh, sure.
Although I did talk to my sister who is an interior designer, but things are different between us because that's what she does. She's had a lot of validation in her instincts. Like she's very successful and so she can make decisions and not like second guess them.
Yeah.
She's like, you don't need every decision you're making for the cabin. It feels like you're putting so much weight into it and like it's so important. I think part of it is this has been a dream forever. And I'm like, I want to have it feel like the dream. And then part of it also is like, we're putting a lot of money into it. I don't want to make big mistakes that I regret.
Yeah.
But a roundabout way of saying we teed up us going to the cabin and picking out the plaid.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we both spoke to our fears of how that interaction could go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm delighted to report I have not seen such enthusiasm from you. And you knew, like, I had narrowed it down to like 4 or 5 options.
Yeah.
You pretty much knew right away.
Yeah.
And you were stoked about it.
Yeah. There was an obvious pick. You had spent a bunch of time. You'd put them all, hung them up on the wall in the area where the couch would be, the lights shining in. I think you were like, I think you said like, I think I had narrowed it down to 2, and I was like, I like that one, and you're like, that's one of the 2, and then so it's like done deal.
Yes, and it was so delightful, and it felt really good. And as we discussed, you can't really fake it. I could sense that you were genuinely excited about the idea of having a great big ginormous sectional couch in that specific plaid. So
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I'm very excited too.
But I think, maybe we need to clear the air about the cabin, because I do hear how stressed out you are about it. And I really do appreciate all the time and energy you've put into it. And I do realize that it's all falling on you. But the main reason is twofold. One, if I was more involved in that stuff, and I'm helpful when it comes to appliances and dumb stuff like that,
yes.
TVs and all that stuff. But
yes.
the decorating and all this couch and all that, I would make your life 10 times more of a living hell if I was involved.
Yeah.
With all the second guessing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a great excuse, but that's why I'm not in your way. And also, I just don't know what looks cool, and you know what looks cool. But I do hear that a lot of it must be stressful making all these choices. But I'm kind of like, at this point, I really do trust you for all of it. Obviously, I want to weigh in about big plaid couches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I've learned throughout this process, I really don't need to be that involved, because you did such a bang-up job on the little back studio.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very nice. You know what I think this is? This might be something I need to let go of. I feel like I have a lot of guilt about the last few years and the division of labor in our lives. And this feels like this extra other thing now that I'm doing on top of other stuff that is taking me away from making up for a kind of lost time.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So this is really kind of my shit. I feel like I need to just let go of it. And you will communicate with me anytime you're feeling like, I don't know, we're going down a road that you're not comfortable with or something in terms of my time away. Because the thing about doing the cabin is,
you feel bad about being away.
I got to go up there.
And that I'm more watching the kids solo style.
Right.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that's all good.
Having said that, I want to thank you, sir, for being such an amazing equal partner. Not even equal right now, but you know what I mean? A lot of people don't have that. And I was reading an article that's all about women who are working.
Yeah.
Also bear the burden of like the emotional or the mental labor. Like we're still doing all the scheduling and all the blah, blah, blah and all the blah, blah, blah. And I really do feel like our situation does not resonate for me at all, where I feel like feeling like I'm having to do everything, or I don't feel like I have to delegate stuff to you.
Yeah.
You know, we're equal parts delegating to each other, so I'm very, very grateful for that.
I will say I'm curious what you think of, I do think more falls on you when it comes to like, I don't know, what's a good example, but like weird paperwork shit and like stuff like that, right?
Yeah, you know what? Like I bring up scheduling. I will say I think I do the majority of that, and like kind of our social lives. I definitely kind of am doing that, but I enjoy that. But like doctor's appointments and all of that stuff and the paperwork and whatever. Yeah. Yes.
Like,
but I think this might blow people's minds, and this might need to change because it's almost too much. But you're waking up every morning and making the kids lunches and getting them ready for school. Yeah. Like that's huge. And I think that started we actually recently had this conversation because you were like, how did I end up being the one making their lunches every day?
Yeah.
And I remember like a couple years ago, I was like, this will break me for some reason, the making lunches thing. Now, if I knew it were my job, I would be making them the night before. I would find a way to do it. But like waking up and getting their lunches ready for some reason, that is the thing that just will send me over the edge. And that's something. So you've been doing it.
I know that thing. I'm all right with that. It's sometimes hard. The other thing, though, that I feel like you duped me into for all of time is the cat poop, which started when you were pregnant. Not that I've been doing a good job at all lately on it.
Oh,
or do you just do it all the time now?
I do it all the time. I don't know what you're talking about.
I appreciate you. The tides have turned.
I'm doing the poop. Well, here, this actually brings up an interesting question. Have you just thought that she's not pooped in many months?
I just feel like she poops outside most of the time.
Okay.
Oh, I'm glad we cleared that. That's great.
Well, this kind of this brings up another thing. I feel like
you were like, I feel like I do fucking everything.
No, I don't. I don't.
No,
I know I
don't.
don't.
I know that.
But I do feel like there's a lot I do that's invisible. And this goes, we had this conversation this morning. This goes back to the ADHD thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you will take on so much. You'll take on this big project and you do 95% of it. And this is in one of the like illustrations of the ADHD thing, which was a website. I think it's ADHDDD.
Oh, yeah. I love that site.
There's an illustration and it shows like a neurotypical person, like there are 4 hurdles like that a runner is going over, and it's like doing the laundry, and it's like wash, dry, fold, and all the hurdles are equal.
Yeah.
For an ADHD, each hurdle's getting higher and higher. So like the last step is like 4 times the size of the first hurdle.
Yeah.
And that feels true sometimes, like that I'm doing the final steps of things that are kind of getting left behind. And this morning there was an example of like the laundry, which was fine. You're doing most of it.
Oh, right. Yeah, I left some. Yeah.
But then you came in. I was like kind of huffy, like folding these sheets. And you came in and you didn't. You sometimes do this. Oh my God, my like, goddamn Andy hasn't done the sheets, and now I have to fold these sheets. You were narrating my internal monologue, and then you're like, but he doesn't have ADHD, so I need to have a little bit. And you killed me because really you kind of nailed my inner monologue. Knowing that you struggle with this and having a perception of how much harder it is and kind of understanding the ins and outs of it does help me have compassion, but I think there's a lot of stuff I do like that is just kind of invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say it fucking matters? Sometimes I'm like, does it matter? Like that all the cars are in the car bin?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that
stuff.
Totally.
Who cares if it's mixed up with the Legos? Like, but in the way I operate, I'm like, if there are cars in the Lego bin and there are Legos in the car bin, like, the world's going to end. It's just going to fall apart.
I mean, it's kind of amazing that we have figured out a balance of getting shit done. Mm-hmm. And we know people where there's a total imbalance in the houses.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Of just like stuff.
And I do think in general, like from the 50s, you know, women being allowed to enter the workforce, and like obviously women's rights right now are very much on the chopping block, but I was just looking at this history of women's rights. I mean, in like 1920, there was some law that like women couldn't work at night unless they were working in like an entertainment venue and they had their husband's permission. Like, we are not really, it's still very new concept that women are like working equal. I mean, we still don't have pay equality, whatever. Like, so we're in this transition period though, where I'm like, women are working just as hard, just as much out of the home as men.
Yeah.
But I think in general, it still kind of falls on them in the home
to also
for
be
most
doing
families.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, it's great that we I do feel like we've figured out a great balance. And also in the context of finding out about the ADHD thing, it's kind of a miracle in some ways that we have figured out a balance. One weird thing that I'll say about ADHD update is how long have I known? How long have I really been this? 3 months, maybe, sort of. How long have I been taking medication? 2 or 3 months?
Maybe 2. I feel like it's pretty new.
It's pretty new. I think in the very beginning of finding out about it and this and the medication, it was like very top of mind, and I would catch lots of moments of like if there was like a piece of trash on the floor in the kitchen or something as an example, that maybe I would in my mind be like, oh, I'm gonna come back and get that in a second because I'm in the middle of this other thing. Where in the last 2 months, especially in the early days, it was so front of mind, like, oh, you forget to come back and get it and all this stuff, that like I almost started getting like obsessive about like, no, I'm getting that right now, like getting it, like I was super on it. But now I'm finding this interesting thing that's happening, and just in general, just being aware of all this stuff, I think it is helping me just be productive in that sense, with or without medication, right? It's just more, I understand that I will totally forget about it if I don't do it.
Right.
An interesting thing I noticed happening this week, which gets back to these. So we had sheets from the cabin that I washed, and then I put in like a pile in the garage I hadn't folded to take back up to the cabin. But what's happened this past week, so like I'm working on a few different projects that I'm excited about. And
you're working a lot more. And also you've said more efficiently.
No, well, this is what I was going to get to. Now I just noticed this week that I am like, this past week was like almost revelatory for me just in the studio, because I'm working on a few things very excited about, and I'm on this medication, and I'm in here. Like yesterday, I worked straight the whole day. And obviously, you know that like on a day when an artist isn't here, I'm in here.
Yeah.
But like, I am getting distracted. I'm picking up my phone. I'm dicking around. Oh, I need to make that appointment. That's taking way longer. I'm dicking around.
Yeah.
But this, like, just for example, yesterday, I was making music the entire fucking day in it, and I felt like I was 20 again. Like,
oh, that's amazing.
Like, it feels so good to be able to be productive. And I mean, I think a lot has to do with like, I like what I'm working on right now.
Well, that's another thing is I feel like there are a couple new artists that you're working with that you're so excited. There's an artist you worked with a long time that you're really excited about the stuff you're making. Like, it seems like you're creatively very inspired, and coupled with your medication, like it's the dawn of a new era.
Right. So, but now that reality though is like, I'm so into work that day that I forgot about the sheets for the entire week. So it's now, it's almost like this weird thing happened, which I don't know. It's just like something that like crossed my mind. But
well, it's interesting. The trash thing is very interesting because I think I just hadn't had coffee and I was kind of grumpy this morning. And so like I came in and I saw the sheets, and it's also in my mind, I'm like, they're going to get dusty, crumpled out here. Totally. And I'm allergic to dust, and like, come on.
Right.
Like, so I took them in and folded them, and that's when you did my inner monologue narration that really made me laugh. Then you and I went out to put something in my car, and when we were walking back in, I saw this piece of paper that's been on the ground for a couple days.
Yeah.
And I normally would 100% have picked that up days ago.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking a stand against it. It's because my back's been bothering me. I've constantly been like, oh, I'll go get my grabber thing and come pick it up. I just don't want to deal with it.
Right.
But this morning when we walked past it, I was like, ugh, there's that thing again that I need to get. And you were walking in behind me, and I had the thought like, why hasn't Andy picked it up? And that was, I was going into my monologue of like, these are the things that I'm always having to do.
Wow. Yeah.
And then we walked in and you came in and you had it.
Hell yeah, I had it.
And I was like,
Goddamn right I
oh.
had it.
So it does feel like the dawn of a new era in a way. And I was kind of proved wrong in my bitchy mindset this morning. But let me ask you this, because you just said something, and this feels almost like it's a couples therapy session for me. You just said like it's amazing that we do have this division of labor balance or whatever. Do you feel right now in our lives that it is balanced? Because I feel like I am still carrying so much guilt from the last few years.
Oh, I think just about. Are you saying like guilt of just like if we're going to talk about like the hours that I have to do like childcare stuff, maybe?
Well, like let's take a look at the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Very fortunately for me, I got staffed right when the pandemic started.
Yeah, you've been working almost without a break, full time for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I needed a place to work. Now we were going into pandemic. I almost feel like we've forgotten, like the kids were home. We had no childcare because we couldn't have people around.
Yeah.
They were both doing online school. It was like ETK in first grade back then. I mean, now we're in third grade and first grade, which is crazy. You were doing a lot of work for Apple.
Mm-hmm.
But your sessions with artists obviously came to a screeching halt because we weren't having people on our property.
Yeah.
On top of that, we're very fortunate. We have someone come clean our house once every 2 weeks. That stopped. Like, all of this stuff piled up. And it suddenly, all of the things that sometimes we would outsource, particularly school, was on our shoulders, and it mostly was on your shoulders because I was in your studio working from 9 to 6. You were dealing with the kids, and then you would come in and work at night. Like, you were really burning the candle at both ends or whatever. But we made it through, and I always appreciated. I mean, you were doing that to support my career, but also you were in a situation where you couldn't work with artists anyway. So
no, and I think we were also all of that. I feel like we were just so lucky how that all panned out, and like
yes,
we got through it, and it was amazing.
We got through it, but it wasn't lost on me how hard it was for you.
Sure, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And then the kids went back to school, but still they had to be picked up at 2:30, and then they're back at the house, and it's just been a lot on you.
Yeah.
But in the last 6 months, that has changed.
I mean, in the last
2 months,
it has gotten back to normal. That's why I feel, and we'll circle back to I think what you want to talk about, but I think just the fact that it really does feel like we're back to normal life, and I'm back to much more normal work life, and this ADHD of all of it, it really does feel amazing for me. So I'm like, couldn't be more content.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to even start crying asking you this. What I want to know from you is, like, so you do feel like things are kind of back to normal balance?
Yeah.
And do you resent me?
Oh, no, not at all. The only hard thing for me, and I think the only time, and I don't even know if resent is the right word, but the only time where I'd be like, fuck, is like when my day would get, like, if something happened,
if there's ever anything
can't go to
that
school,
happens, yes,
they're sick or something like that, that it fell on me. Those were the only times that those started adding up where
yes,
it's like, fuck, like,
yes, you could never,
I couldn't, there was no escape hatch for me. So that was those were the only, that's like, those are the only scenarios that just started getting old.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because just like all those little things.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, but that was the only thing I would say like started adding up, which I think those things started adding up for everybody in this time.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, it did fall on you. Like, my days weren't really altered. I was still going to be going to work and
Right.
whatever. Anyway, I feel like I just needed to hear that from you and kind of like I'm not making the situation any better by like projecting my own guilt or feeling like I need to make things up to you or whatever, because you're not bringing that into the situation for me.
No.
And also, you know, yeah, I appreciate it. I really appreciate everything, obviously, that you've done for our family for the last couple of years. And I'm glad things feel back to normal. And I'm very excited to see you kind of, it does feel like the dawn of a new era, which is exciting.
Yeah. No, and I think on the flip side of all of this, to assuage, is that right, your guilt at all?
Yeah.
You also been working your ass off, which is an amazing, and like our whole family's so appreciative about that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that can't go overlooked at all.
Thank you.
No, I think we're in a good. But I also think there's been a pretty, for the situation we've been in, the balance has been great. You know.
Yeah, and I look on this and I'm like, we are so lucky. You know, the challenges we've faced through these last few years have felt big. And also, I think we were safe in a way that a lot of people weren't. And everyone had to choose their own levels of safety and stuff. But we fully just like shut down because we have a kid who needed us to, basically.
Yeah.
Like, no childcare, no. You know, I have friends who like on March 20th were like, no, our housekeeper is continuing to come multiple times a week. Like,
right.
Everyone had their limits or boundaries or whatever. We really, I think more than almost anyone I know, shut the fuck down.
Especially the first half. We were so scared because our one of our kids had been in the hospital for a respiratory thing when they were young for a week. So we were that.
And I have like PTSD. I mean, I will say that kid, when that kid gets sick, I still have.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we were extra scared.
Yeah.
And to this day, I mean, I would say it's interesting. And I bet for a lot of our listeners are going to be like, what are you talking about? But in LA, I would say probably half the kids at school still are wearing masks inside. Mm-hmm. Ours are one of them. And it's, we're at a point where like, is this crazy or isn't? Do you know what I mean? But
they don't mind it though. If it were a problem, probably at this point, I'd say, okay, take it off. But
I still wear masks at all the big stores when I go.
Yeah.
Still, where I feel like I'm becoming more and more of a outlier. I guess maybe not so much. Maybe it's still like 50-50 in LA.
Well,
but in most parts of the country, it's like
flights. I mean, flying back from Utah, I was like, I guess I'm the only one. There was like one other person in a mask. I know flights are supposed to be safe because of the air and stuff like that, but
yeah, who knows?
I just prefer. Anyway, where were we? I'm glad we had this conversation.
Yeah. On
our podcast. But I feel like I needed to have this and just know kind of the state of the union. But I do feel very grateful. What I was trying to say is like that was so challenging for us, and we had like best case scenario of getting through this. So like all families faced their own crazy challenges, and I mean best case scenario because we didn't lose anyone close to us.
Yeah,
we didn't really get COVID. I say really because I maybe did, but still up for debate. You know, I feel like we're very, very lucky. We had employment through COVID.
Yeah.
Lucky. Okay, cool. Not our usual episode. This is a therapeutic episode for me.
Therapeutic.
All right. Well, I love you.
Love you.
Very glad we discussed this, and we'll be back next week.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.